Hi everyone, I'm Tracy Koga and welcome to Hue at Home. This is Black History Month, and boy, what a difference a year makes. Now more than ever, we know about oppression, systemic racism, and discrimination against Black people and people of color. But we move forward. Today we look towards the new young trailblazers that are opening the doors for opportunity and inclusion. I'll sit down with pop recording star Terez, and she'll talk about how she's using her voice to speak about the power of women. But now, let's meet Angela Cassie and Tania Lafreniere. They're two women that you're going to hear a lot about. They're stepping into brand new roles created for them at the National Gallery of Canada as the gallery moves forward to more diversity and inclusion in the future. I want to give a warm and wonderful welcome to Angela and Tania. And we're going to hear more from these two incredible women that have, I guess, I want to say kind of dream jobs, ladies, because these are brand new roles created. Well, I'm going to say it just for you. But I mean, these roles have their incredible titles. So I'm going to go first with Angela. Angela, we know each other, you know, Winnipeg girls, but boy, oh boy, so happy and proud for you. So first of all, Angela, please say your full and proper title with the National Gallery of Canada.
Yes, well, thank you so much for this time today. And yeah, I've been thrilled to start as the new Vice President of Strategic Transformation and Inclusion with the National Gallery of Canada.
Oh, we'll get into all of that because I have lots of questions. And Tania, so good to see you and welcome to Hue at Home. And your title, Tania, is very interesting.
Yes, thank you very much. At the gallery, my role there is Senior Vice President, People, Culture, and Belonging.
Oh, belonging. Oh, that's a big word. That means so many things today. Okay, I am going to go open it up. Angela, give us a little background on how you managed to land this incredible job.
Yeah, well, I mean, I've been very fortunate to have encountered the CEO of the National Gallery, Dr. Sasha Suda, over the last year. And we've just had a number of conversations about the need for the cultural sector to evolve and change. And it was, you know, kind of colleagues in the sector having conversations, and she was talking about how they were grappling with how to implement these changes within the institution, and they were looking for someone who had a cultural sector background, that had a background in justice, equity, diversity, and inclusion work. And so it started a conversation, and what I was really excited about is that she recognized the importance of having this role at the executive leadership table with a really clear mandate and clear authority. And so worked with Tania, who was already starting to do some work with the National Gallery to formalize that role. And so, you know, it was something that kind of was born out of a lot of reflection and conversation, but also recognized the significance of having a role like that at the table. So was thrilled to be able to fill that seat.
Wow. And for yourself, Tania, your journey?
My journey to here was brought by a common friend, a mutual contact that Dr. Sasha Suda and I have in common, somebody I had worked with previously at CBC. And we got into contact, started talking about the challenges organizationally and the change and the new strategic plan that was being implemented. But there seemed to be a lot of opportunity to bring human resources, which is now people, culture, and belonging. We rebranded it to a new level, more at a strategic business partner level, operating at all levels of the organization. So I was really pleased to see this role created and that it has a voice at the decision-making table as well. So I think this is going to be great. And along with Angela's role, I think in partnership, we're going to be able to make great things happen this year for sure.
Well, it certainly is strange times. No one could ever think that we would be doing meetings or virtual get-togethers like this, but it does draw people together. So Angela and Tania, please chime in on this. What kind of changes do you see that should be made right away, and what kind of, I guess, future do you both see that will be, a brighter future for the National Gallery Canada?
Yeah, well, I mean, the National Gallery has already started down a path where conversations about reconciliation was informing the work that the organization was doing. It's had a number of Indigenous employees and curators. It has one of the largest collections of Indigenous contemporary art in the world. And so the steps had begun to be taken. But it's more than just the programming. And I think that's where that word collaboration that Tania mentioned is really key. It's about now taking that and looking at all of our policies, our programs, our informal and formal practices, and using an anti-racism, anti-oppression lens to really create an institution inside and out where people feel empowered, where people feel a sense of belonging, and where, an increasingly diverse staff contributes to the creativity and innovation of the National Gallery. So, our mandate is to look at all of those places and spaces. That's a major change project. I think that's why Tania and I are both excited to be partners at that table, because it does relate very closely to the people. So we want to look at training and equipping people to be successful with this change and transition, to learn and to understand issues related to anti-racism, anti-oppression, and then translate that into their day-to-day work and also in what we present to the public. So it's a huge task. And what we're really trying to do with the strategic plan is provide that common sense of vision to our teams, to be transparent to the public, and really take the steps that we need for this transformation. And I don't use that word lightly when I use transformation, but it is all encompassing. And I think that's part of what's really exciting, but it also is a huge and long path. And it's about continuous learning. So, we're starting from a foundation of some early important efforts, but it's about continuing to evolve the organization over time.
Wow. I'm sitting here and I'm going, well, it's an art gallery, but is it a museum? So maybe, Tania, too, you can kind of, add into this. And Tania, too, it's culture, people, and belonging. So belonging, does that mean, like Angela was sort of saying, too, it's the culture and the people that work there, they belong? But it's also creating a sense of belonging, too, for me, the general public that come into the gallery, too?
Yeah, absolutely. And it's a sense of belonging where people feel secure, and for employees internally to feel supported, and for our visitors to be able to see themselves represented in our collection. So I think overall, at a high level, that's what we're trying to strive for. With people, culture, and belonging internally, we're going to be building a lot of tools to support the strategic plan that Angela is going to be implementing across the organization. And some of those tools that we're going to be implementing is, like true succession planning, revising our recruitment strategy with a justice, equity, diversity, and inclusion lens, ensuring that we've got training and development plans for individuals that are going to be growing within the organization, and just employees as a whole, to make sure that they're engaged. Part of our mandate is to ensure an engaged and diverse workforce within the organization, and making sure that our retention is high and people want to stay. So that's something as well. And no organization's perfect, but making sure that we work through conflict respectfully and together, making sure that we're giving leaders at all levels of the organization tools on how to manage difficult situations, especially now. Making sure that people are feeling valued and supported and are able to make mistakes without feeling fear. Ensuring that people feel safe enough to be vulnerable and to give each other feedback and to grow together. So that's the ambiance that we're trying to create organizationally. And I think with the appointment of Angela and I, it's definitely a strong demonstration of that commitment.
And I totally agree with you when you talk about a safe place, and now more than ever, right? It is totally in every conversation, and and also to diversity and the sense of belonging too is so important. Question okay, Angela. This might be it is my kind of opinion or how I perceive art galleries is mainly white, mainly male, and usually old. And I hate to say that. Well, you know what? I don't. But that's, first impressions. Is this now the new? And are we going to see more Angelas and Tanias around the world?
Yeah, well, you're not going to see any of my art on the walls, but I think what we're trying to create is place and space on all of those levels. So I think, the cultural sector has done a great job of bringing more female leadership into spaces, yet a lot of those women continue to be from the dominant culture. So it is white women. And that was an important step forward, but there's still more work to do on an inclusivity standpoint. So when we're looking at the diversity within the teams, whether it be Indigenous, Black, or racialized communities, we are not strongly represented at all levels of the organization. And a lot of it is at junior or entry level positions. So when Tania is talking about training, recruitment, succession planning, and retention, it's about creating that workplace where individuals from different communities see the art gallery as a place for them that will respect and value the talent and the perspectives they bring at the table, and that it's more than just a seat at the table, it's a voice at that table, and it's an ability to contribute in a meaningful way to the work of the gallery. But it's also looking at that collection. So I think, if you're looking at the thousands of wonderful pieces of art within the gallery, and this is one of our activities right now, we generally know that it's largely white, male, and European, but we don't have numbers to support that. And what we want to be able to do is to diversify the collection and ensure that other voices are included in the works of art, because we're preserving this for Canadians for generations to come. And so it's a demonstration of our values. And so, when I say, well, do we have work from Black artists? We can't easily answer that question at this time. And so part of what we're doing is, how are we collecting? What are we collecting? And it's not to say that there's not a richness in having like the Rembrandts of the world kind of displayed, but there are so many other names and so many other voices and so many other perspectives in art and how we define beauty and how we define fine art. We need to challenge all of those constructs so that the gallery space is one that's more inclusive.
Wow, I mean, you're really opening up my eyes now to how to view an art gallery. Tania, I'm going to talk a little bit about our art gallery here, the WAG, and director Stephen Boris has done an amazing job, and we're so excited to open Hamayork, which was formerly known as the Inuit Art Center, and now, they truly are trying to embrace definitely the Inuit artists, but also all Indigenous artists too as well. A place like this is a place to educate people, to learn. How important is it, Tania, to really kind of listen to other people's stories and not judge? I have a slogan from a dear friend, acceptance without understanding. How far away can we be from this? Because I would just like to see or view people, as a human being, as having a heart and everything like that.
And I think that's very important, and if we're talking like in society, just in general, and if we're talking in the context of our workplace, any workplace really, I think that's very important. That sense of belonging, immersion, being supported, and I really do believe that the only way an organization can really achieve this is by making sure that you have the right leadership in place. Without the right leadership and the right competencies at those levels, true feedback and communication and change, keeping it respectful, will be hard if we're not ensuring that the right leadership is there to be able to lead the organization through turbulent times, reassure employees, making sure that they're included and respected and growing. It's a tall task, right? And leadership isn't as glamorous as people think it is.
No, you're the first. You're the first to get the finger pointed at. No,
exactly. So, and if it is easy, you might be missing something. So, and that's often the case. And that's I think what's happened here. Our CEO, Dr. Sasha Souda, has quickly realized that there was a strong need for change internally. And I think this is what you're seeing here very much with Angela and myself and the strategic roles that have been adopted within the organization and given a very important voice of influence and change. So I really do believe that, it starts with the leadership. And often if there's toxicity within an organization or exclusion, you can easily point it somewhere in the senior levels where culture ultimately begins.
Well, and women, we get it. We're so smart. We can see it right away. It doesn't take 5 years or whatever to figure out. And speaking of women and like yourselves, Angela, role models. Well, we've seen it, Kamala, her big job and now in the White House. How important is it? And I would think very important, but seeing yourselves as role models for women, younger women, maybe wanting to do a career like this.
Yeah, well, I mean, I hear those words and I am humbled by them. If people see me as a role model, I feel like I have so much to learn myself. But the reality is a lot of what I've been able to achieve in my career is because of other women who had a motto of lifting while they climbed. And I think that that's really important. So to me, I've benefited a lot from those who came before me. There are a lot of people who shattered ceilings. And so, my job is to kind of try to do the same and bring other people along this journey with me. So I think that's why I was very excited as well with Tania's plans around succession, to formalize it. I think you can be an informal mentor, and that's really important. But to have a sponsor or a champion within organizations or within the sector who can tell you there are interesting jobs out there in the cultural sector. And, I was joking with one of my cousins who's a young artist, and I would say for myself as a child of immigrants, art wasn't necessarily one of those fields that we were exposed to. They're not systems that we were familiar with or knew how to navigate. And so part of it is, understanding, I have a political science and communications background. I'm not an art historian or I don't have a museum degree, but there are very, very interesting roles within these organizations, and they need, human rights and human resource specialists. They need people who have equity and diversity as a background. You can have a different educational path and background and still have a really rich career. So I think that's part of what's exciting when I speak to younger women and encourage them in this field, that you can have a rich and exciting career.
Oh, well, hopefully, and I love it, Tania, to copy what Angela said, succession and training, because again, yes, Angela pointed out that, you know, some people just weren't, those fields, the field of art just wasn't, you know, given to them. But to create that opportunity is great. Tania, words of wisdom from you.
Words of wisdom. You know, one thing that's really helped me a lot was to never shy away from feedback, and to never take it personally. And this goes for both men and women, more experienced and less experienced professionals, all walks of life. It's often bitter, and it's really important to listen to where it's coming from, whom it's coming from, and why they're telling you, and use your judgment, but not to shy away from it or to you know, avoid it. It's just something that I think has helped me a long way, and I've been very lucky to have very honest people around me. That's helped shape my leadership style and my career going forward. That's often the one piece of advice that that I can give to anyone that I'm mentoring, is to embrace the feedback and grow from it.
Oh, and that's sometimes so hard to do, but so true. I want to thank you both, Angela and Tania. We wish you all the best, and we can hardly wait. Maybe 6 months from now, when you're, you know, flying back and forth, Angela, to the, and we can kind of catch up and see how things are going. I would love a virtual tour. I've never been to the National Gallery of Canada, so I'll put that on my bucket list.
Absolutely.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, you might be able to fly back and forth as well, so you'd always be welcome into the gallery. It feels like an imaginary world where you just go onto a plane and go somewhere now.
I know.
But it's coming. It's coming.
Oh, yes. Well, you know what? Thank you so much, ladies, and we look forward to seeing you again.
Thank you for your time.
Okay, bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.
Girl, you know what's up. Ooh, say what, say what, say what. Girl, you know what's up. Ooh, say what, say what, say what. So tell me what's up. I'm digging you. I'm feeling you. Girl, you know what's up. Say I'm digging you. And I'm wanting you. So tell me what's up. Girl, you know what's up. Ooh, say what, say what, say what. Girl, you know what's up.
Well, I'd like to give a very warm Winnipeg welcome to Terez, who's in Calgary right now. And Calgary is your home, correct, Terez?
Yeah, I was born and raised here.
Well, you know, young lady, what attracted me when I saw you and heard some of your music is that you really are the epitome of young musicians today, doing it all. And my goodness, you're 24, and some of the things that you've accomplished, pretty incredible. So let's fill us all in, Terez, with your personal story on how you got to where you are today.
Yeah, well, first of all, thank you so much. I started loving music when I was really young. I used to actually sneak into my brother's room. He was given this guitar by my parents, and I would sneak in and play his guitar. My parents were like, that's actually nice, don't touch it. And so they ended up getting me my own guitar, like kind of the Toys R Us, like little plastic thing, and I loved it with my whole heart. I just loved it, and I started writing songs on there, and I just really fell in love with music at that age. And when I was about 16, I decided that this was the route I wanted to go, and initially I started as a songwriter, mostly in the country scene, being from Alberta. And then I ventured off into pop, and now I do R&B, K-pop, hip-hop, a lot of different genres.
And you've also are very creative and have a pretty smart and savvy marketing and social media background too. I mean, you've done a lot of that work too as well.
Yeah. I mean, as an independent artist, initially you kind of have no choice but to learn how to do everything. And I really just enjoy the creative aspects of it. And just throwing myself at creativity, whatever it might be, I think is really fun. And I think it's really fun to wear different hats and try on different positions. And I just really enjoyed that.
Wow. Okay, so let's talk about your latest song, Hot Mess. It's a very catchy tune, but I love the lyrics too as well.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
So give us a little background on Hot Mess. What is it all about?
Yeah, so I actually went on a date and I left, it was actually my wallet in an Uber. And the next day I spent the morning trying to get my wallet back. And I just was poking fun at myself, being like, oh my gosh, you're such a hot mess. And I ended up just sitting down and writing this song, waiting for the Uber driver to get back to me. Just kind of poking fun and giving myself some grace and allowing myself to be a hot mess. And I thought that given just so much heaviness in the world right now, just a light, fun song to be like, if you're messy, I am too. Let's own it. We'll get it tomorrow. I thought that would be a good time for a song like this.
And how's it been for you, Terez, through all of this, the isolation, pandemic, obviously not being able to, let alone see your friends, but even get into a recording studio? How have you kind of pivoted?
Yeah, I've actually found it's been almost like a creative incubator in a way because you have so much time to create. Instead of scheduling time to create during my normal schedule, it's just whenever the inspiration hits, whenever you just want to write a new song, you can. And that's been actually a really cool and beneficial because I know that when things go back to quote unquote normal, that probably won't be the case. And so I'm trying to just really enjoy that. I'm a very optimistic person, so I'm like always looking for the silver lining. It's definitely, I think, just like anybody, it's been a struggle, it's been an adjustment. But I think I'm just really trying to look for the positives and see all the ways that it has benefited my career and my creativity.
What kind of messaging or what kind of music do you want to create, Terez, for your fans, but also sending a message to young women like yourself that may want to get into the business too, as what you're in? What kind of music would you want to be known as?
Yeah, well, actually, I'm really excited because I'm about to release my first EP. And on that EP, there's topics like the pressures of social media, mental health, and the classic getting through heartbreak. And I really admire writers that can write songs other than just relationship type songs. And I'll be honest, as a writer, it's a struggle because it's so easy to pull from those types of situations. But I think the more that we normalize talk around the pressures of social media and mental health, like we've been working on creating these stigmas that just are not serving young women. And although we know that there's pressures around social media, we're not really seeing a lot of that come into art and talking about that and talking about ways to actually work with that instead of just, yeah, there's pressures around social media and that's the end of the discussion there. Really kind of diving into that's actually normal to feel that way. You're normal. This is a new thing.
Well, and it's interesting that you do talk about that. Social media is like the biggest way, right, for young artists to get their music out nowadays. And you're also on TikTok. Okay, I confess I don't know a lot about TikTok, but obviously heard a lot about it. So how are you using TikTok, or what do you find that you like TikTok so much, or maybe not?
Yeah, I think with any social media, there's the upside and the downside. TikTok, just the same. It's algorithm driven content. So whatever you're looking at it and liking, it's just going to serve you more of that. So if you're in a negative headspace and you're looking at negative things, then TikTok's going to continuously serve you up negative things. So don't love it in that sense, but I made a funny video that kind of caught on, that was essentially like, don't be polite to men that creep you out. Don't be polite to men that creep you out. Don't be polite to men, it's not your job to comfort them. Don't be polite to men that creep you out. And that was one of the coolest experiences I've had on the app, because all of these mothers started recreating it with their children doing it. And really the messaging, like, I kind of threw it out there as a joke. I didn't really get too in depth into it. And the message is not, don't be polite to men. I think everyone deserves respect. But it was validating women that if you're in an uncomfortable situation, you don't need to be polite. You need to be safe, and you need to do what you need to do to get out of there. And sometimes, yeah, maybe that is being polite, but it's also just having the message that you got to do what you got to do. Your safety is number one, and you need to look out for yourself in those situations. And yeah, seeing mothers recreate that with their kids, I was like, wow, this platform has so much more to it than just funny videos. And that was really the first time I got to witness that for myself on TikTok.
Well, congratulations. That is very cool, and what a message. And you're right. I mean, if you can figure out all these platforms and use it like that to your advantage, then wow, sky's the limit for you. And I just wanted to quickly add, so you, home says Calgary and Nashville, so you've spent time in Nashville too as well?
Yeah, I've spent quite a bit of time in Nashville. I typically spend about half my year there. I absolutely love Nashville. It feels like my second home, and I'm really, really looking forward to going back.
So who have you worked with?
Actually, having been there so much, most of my friend group is based there now. And so it's awesome because a lot of my friends are in the industry, and we get to relate over this weird, wild industry that can be quite challenging to relate to. And so I get to work with a lot of my friends, which has been amazing. I get to work with artists as a songwriter in the room, writing for them, producers. I actually just started to get into my own music production as well this year. So I'm looking forward to being able to flex those skills once I'm back.
Oh my goodness. Well, you're a one-woman, mighty woman machine there. It's been crazy. I know this year's been crazy. Do you look forward to the day where you can be on stage in front of fans?
Absolutely. Absolutely, I do. I miss it with my whole heart. I think that hopefully this has been a time where we really realize how treasured those experiences are. And I think the concerts and sports games are very similar in that it's like this big exchange of energy, and you get to be in a room with all these like-minded people. And I think that I horribly miss that, and I'm sure other people are feeling it too, whether they're the ones on stage or in the audience, and I'm very much looking forward to it.
Well, we can hardly wait to come and see your next concert, Terez, and you will play us out with an acoustic version of Hot Mess?
Yes, you got it.
Okay.
All right, this is Hot Mess. Waking up today, real hungover. Oh, I left my phone in the Uber. Made out with the guy, and he's super delicious like a cupcake. And the tasty must make me hot boots. Tired vixen, bottle of booze. In the kitchen, burning cigarettes. And my ambition, I had a hell of a night, if I remember it right. 'Cause baby, I'm a hot mess. Minus the hot, cheerful mess. I'm a goddess. Looking like hell, last night's dress. Dancing on the bar, swinging from the rafters. If I'm having fun, I know that's all that matters. Ain't a secret. champagne, overflowing, making a name. It's never boring. Pink Mustang, engine's broken. I have a hell of a life, and I think I'm doing it right. 'Cause baby, I'm a hot mess. But mine's the high, chip for the mess. I'm a goddess. Looking like heaven. Last night's dress, dancing on the bar, swinging from the rafters. If I'm having fun, then that's all that matters. Ain't a secret. No, I'm the cutest dancer you ever met. I'm a hot mess, hot, hot. I'm a hot mess, hot. Cutest dancer you ever met. Baby, I'm a hot mess. Burn up, burn up, burn up, burn up. I'm a hot mess. I'm a hot mess. Oh, and I know you like it. 'Cause baby, I'm a hot mess. But I'm honest so high. Chip on the mess. I'm a goddess. I'm looking like heaven and last night's rest. Dancing on the bar, swinging from the rafters. No, that's all that matters. Ain't a secret. No, I'm the cutest disaster you ever met. I'm a hot mess, hot, hot. I'm a hot mess, hot, hot. Cutest disaster you ever met.
Welcome back to Hue at Home. Well, for the last 10 days or so, we have been living in a polar vortex, and that means weather below 30 degrees Celsius every day. And though we are warm and sheltered in our homes, you can still feel the bone chill of dead winter and can't imagine being out on the streets with no shelter. Our life coach, Linda Drosdowech, will give us a lesson on how to address the homeless and see them in a real human light.
I wanted to talk about how we think about people who are homeless and how the thoughts that we have either take us in the direction of compassionate action or they take us away from compassionate action into inaction, into feeling removed from that problem. And it is a very real problem in our community. So I like to, break it down into, the thoughts that we're thinking, the feelings they generate, the actions we're taking, and the results we get. So if you have the thought about people who are homeless, that it's their own fault, they brought this on themselves, if they only worked harder, they wouldn't be homeless. If you have those thoughts, and listen, those are thoughts that are pervasive in our world. And it is, if you have those thoughts, don't sit in judgment of yourselves. Become aware of the thoughts that you're thinking and see that if you have those thoughts, they're going to generate feelings of judgment, distaste, distance, feeling removed from the problem. And that those feelings are going to cause you to take little action you'll just kind of wash your hands of it. And the result is that the people who are homeless do not get your support or your help. And the other way of looking at it, same circumstance, people are homeless in Winnipeg. If you have the thoughts, they need access to better resources, I can help create better resources, there are things that I can do to help this problem. If you have those thoughts, you're much more likely to think, to feel motivated, compassionate, energized, and the actions that you're going to take are going to be, maybe you'll research which organizations are helping, how you can talk to your members of the Legislative Assembly, how you can have conversations with people that you know, with your children, about people who are homeless. And the result is that people who are homeless get our support, get our help. They have our support to advocate for themselves, which is ultimately the best. The people who need the services are advocating and speaking up for what they need, and we are supporting them. So that's just a couple of ideas of how our thoughts create our results. And if we want, as a result, people in Winnipeg to have access to affordable housing, access to the supports they need, we need to become aware of the thoughts that we're thinking, the way that's making us feel, and the actions that we're taking, and how we can lean towards more compassionate action.
We want to thank all of our special guests on today's show and leave you with this question. What compassionate act have you done lately? We want to know, so send us an email to hello@ilikehue.com, or you can message us on Facebook and Instagram at iLikeHue. But for now, stay safe, warm, and healthy, and we'll see you next time on Hue at Home.